Trump taking off for Florida this weekend, first for a visit at an Orlando school, then on to his Mar-a-Lago resort.
And we get a lot of work done. Believe me, there's not rest at the Southern White House. It's all work.
His fancy Florida estate, his go-to for getting business done outside the White House and hosting world leaders like Japan's Prime Minister. But President Trump's weekends at Mar-a-Lago are costing U.S. taxpayers big money, from firing up Air Force One to fly to Florida with traveling staff, to securing the beachfront property with Coast Guard patrols. The Washington Post estimates the trips so far have cost up to $10 million in just 5 weeks. And at the same time, taxpayers are also footing the bill to operate Camp David, the secluded presidential retreat less than 70 miles from the White House, set aside for presidential downtime and diplomacy. Even dormant, it costs an estimated $8 million a year to run. Trump has expressed little interest in using the cheaper alternative, describing the retreat to reporters as very rustic, saying, "It's nice, you'd like it. You know how long you'd like it? For about 30 minutes.
It doesn't fit everybody. President Obama, he was a city guy. This is a remote location. I don't think initially President Clinton was crazy about it either, but then came to really love it. Remember, Jimmy Carter almost thought about getting rid of it. And thankfully he didn't.
Famously, Carter brokered the historic 1978 peace accord between Egypt and Israel at Camp David. Anita McBride, who worked in both Bush White Houses, says for them it was a sanctuary.
George W. and Laura Bush had an exceptional, I think, sort of relationship with Camp David. Still the only presidential family that spent 12 Christmases at Camp David.
The private, secure location also enables some world leaders to grow close, as Bush revealed what he discovered after hosting British Prime Minister Tony Blair.
Well, we both use Colgate toothpaste. They're gonna wonder how you know that, George.
President Franklin D. Roosevelt called it Shangri-La. His doctor believed the cooler mountain air helped Roosevelt's sinuses. President Reagan visited a record 150-plus times, often to ride his horse. President Clinton famously failed to get a peace deal after sequestering the Israeli and Palestinian leaders there for 2 weeks. And President Obama hosted African and G8 leaders at a summit early in his presidency, but rarely returned, spending most weekends at the White House. Whether Trump continues to use Mar-a-Lago as his so-called winter White House, Camp David remains open, because not only is it a retreat, it's a military installation, doubling as a bunker to assure continuity of government in times of crisis, as was the case on 9/11. Suzanne Malveaux, CNN, Washington.